When the news came down and I saw the name, I was like, Robert Prevost. I said, I think that man Creole. I said, that man Creole. So let me tell y'all what happened. So when it came out, I was watching it live. Y'all roll the video when he got announced. So when he comes out, so when the Pope, y'all roll a video of the Pope when he came out. The Pope. So when he came out, I'm sitting there watching at home, and I'm watching these steps out. Then when they said Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, and I was like, Prevost? Man, I know a whole bunch of damn Creole people in Prevost. Then when I saw him, I was like, then they were talking about old Chicago, they were talking about Peru. I was like, Well, you always gotta wait for the news. So NOLA.com dropped this story. Says Pope Leo XIV has roots in New Orleans' 7th Ward. See his family lineage and history. So allow me to scroll up. And so they start breaking down here. Somebody said Leo XIV, who was born and raised in Chicago, has said in past interviews that he was open to the priesthood because clergymen were always in and out of his childhood home as his mother often fed them. Now we know why her cooking was so good. Both of her parents were from New Orleans. Let me keep going. Then it says here, Honora tracked down a marriage license that showed the Pope's maternal grandparents, Joseph Martinez and Louise Bacquier, were wed at Our Lady of Sacred Heart on Annette Street in 1887. Joseph Martinez claimed Haiti as his birthplace, Honora said, which could very much be true given the back and forth that has always existed between New Orleans and Haiti, or he could have deeper New Orleans roots. I'm still working on that. And so basically, here's what it says here. During the 1900 U.S. Census, the couple was listed as residing at 1933 North Prior Street, a site later demolished due to the construction of the Clyburn Avenue overpass. They were also described as black. And Joseph Martinez was said to have an occupation as a cigar maker. So the maternal grandparents of the Pope, they black.
Hey.
From Haiti.
Come on now. Oh, it's getting ready to be on like Donkey Kong now. Oh, it's on now. Oh, this is lovely. This is
Francis got jokes.
God.
This is Francis's
God
jokes.
is faithful.
Hey, of course he coming from
He good. He good. I'm gnawing. We can eat some gumbo with the Pope. Come on now.
I'm telling y'all, it is so funny. So I'm in a chat group, and they said whoever said he was Creole wins the prize. I was like, I'm telling y'all, when he walked out, I was like, y'all, I need everybody to understand. Y'all need to understand. My grandparents migrated from Opelousas, Louisiana to Houston, okay? Now, the reason all these old dumbass FBA people try to call me a tether, which is stupid, because my maternal paternal side, my grandfather, his ancestors, same as this here, migrated from Haiti to Louisiana. We found a manifest where one of the relatives was on a shipping manifest going from Haiti to New Orleans. And so folk who know history, they know what the whole deal here. And I'm telling y'all, when he walked out and I saw the name, I said, they said the American Pope. I didn't even think Chicago, y'all. I was like, yo, he from Louisiana? I said they grabbed the cardinal from Louisiana? And I'm telling you, and I was like, Prevost. I said, man, do y'all know how many Prevosts I grew up with at Our Lady Star to See Catholic Church in Houston? And so then I saw Chicago, Peru. I was like, I know what Prevost look like. And I'm telling you, Nola, I was like, that boy could be Creole. And now we know.
I'm so not unshocked. Like, I thought everybody kind of knew that. I went to school with tons of Prevosts. I mean,
Nola, you gotta be from the Gulf Coast to understand. Everybody can't spot them. They can't spot them like we can spot them, Nola.
What I'm saying is I knew his history. What I'm saying is I knew his history. and I know that he was Francis's number 2. So I am not shocked in that sense. And so while people are kind of like finding out that he has roots in New Orleans, I'm like, duh, it makes sense that the first American Pope has roots in Louisiana. It just only makes sense. You know, it's still one of the Black strongest Catholic strongholds in the country. So, you know, for a lot of reasons, I'm excited about this. You know, we talked about the social justice aspect. One of the things that growing up in a community like that is that it does lead with a human first, a charity first kind of message. And I'm just excited to see him extend Francis's legacy and to see what he does on his own.
Yo, I'm telling you, Joe, I'm trying to find what I actually say. So somebody in the chat said Prevost. My response was at 1:16 p.m. Hell, that could be Creole.
Right? That's real talk. And you know what's really funny, and this is kind of underscores the fear that those that feel like they're losing grip from a numbers standpoint. This underscores the fear that despite all the hate that's out there, despite all of the things that are being done, despite all of this burning of the house related to diversity and things like this, we're getting more diverse. We're infiltrated with people that are diverse and that are different and that have been around here who have rights to liberty and justice just like everybody else. And so now the most powerful men on the religious side, the religious platform, is somebody that actually has a diverse roots. And it's interesting, and I think I might have neglected to mention it before, but this is wonderful because this just reminds of the Pope standing in such a unique space to stand up against whatever, frankly, the evil order of the day might be. And so it's going to be interesting to see how all this shapes out.
Hey, I just need people, Greg. People are about to learn again. This is what happens when you start talking when these idiots, these these idiots who always are trying to criticize Black immigrants. They don't know anything about this damn country when it comes to how folk came here and all of that. And I can't wait for them fools to be running their mouths. But I hope it also teaches people to understand that a huge portion of this country, under the Louisiana Purchase, was not held by the United States. Again, these are the ignorant people when it comes to history.
They are. And I absolutely understand, sympathize, and am in solidarity with the pain, the harm, the wound that the descendants of slaves and foundational Black Americans and B1 and all these various configurations, not the scammers, shout out to Tariq Nasheed, but the people who actually feel this pain. I understand it. But ignorance is not going to ease the pain or cure the pain. Ignorance is going to deepen the pain. None of us, I'm sorry, those of you who think that somehow Black people are the original indigenous Indians of the United States of America. No, none of us are from here. And as you said, and you know this better than anybody, you know, when I was in New Orleans last spring for the National Association of Black Social Workers Conference, spending time at the National Park Service with the rangers there, you know, talking about the history of that region. New Orleans has much more in common with the Caribbean than it does with the cities of British North America, or even in some ways Spanish North America. Although Spanish and French North America have more in common together than either of them does with English North America. I'm saying all that as a prelude to this. When you look at the migration patterns, you know, New Orleans is a sister city of the Caribbean in the Gulf of Mexico. And Donald Trump, his ancestors come from Germany and Ireland. Yeah, you can go to hell, because this ain't nothing but a mix of a criminal enterprise, and our people connect with a whole lot of people that you just don't like. Finally, I'll just say this again. As this thing unfolds, Francis, man, I got a whole new level of respect for you, bro. You set this up. Francis set this up, man. And, you know, they're going to lose their minds.
But to Greg's point about, again, what happens in this country, go back to my iPad. This is that NOLA.com story. It said Martinez's older brothers and sisters were all born in New Orleans in the 7th Ward. They moved to Chicago between 1910 and 1912, and like so many Louisiana families, they shifted their racial identity. They move to a big metropolis and go about what people assume you are. Now, again, for people who don't understand what that means, the reality is there are people in this country who can pass. And I done told y'all, my grandmother's sister was passing for white. And her sorry, trifling, in Louisiana, and my Aunt Rita, and her sorry, trifling-ass daughter did not call my grandmother until a month after Aunt Rita died, because she did not want us black folk rolling up to the funeral. And I told my mama this. I am tempted. Now, Aunt Rita's daughter, she married to a white man. Her kids don't know they black. Y'all know I'm tempted to make a trip. Y'all know I'm tempted to make a trip to Louisiana with my camera.
Leave them folk alone.
And roll up. What up, cuz? Y'all know I'm tempted.
You done told it now, man. You done told it.
You know you go bang on them. Roland, leave them folk alone. Let them stay where they are in their mind.
The first man she was married to was a racist. My uncle, oh my God. My uncle was like, Rita? My Uncle Roy. Now, Uncle Roy was my skin color. My grandmother, his sister, was very light-skinned. My Aunt Rita was lighter than my grandmother. Uncle Roy said, Rita, but hope your ass don't die first, because we roll up here, he gonna snatch your ass out that casket.
Well.
So again, for folk who don't realize, the reality is, passing is a part of our history. And the reality is there are folks who said, yo, if I can pass for white, I can have me a better life. That's just real.
It's real. You know, Roland, I was stunned. J.P. Morgan, his mansion is now a cultural center, a library, around Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And the first time I went there, it was to see a copy of the Magna Carta. There was one that had been flown in from Europe. And remember when they had that volcano and the ash had blackened the skies and they couldn't send it back. So let me run up here. So when I got there, I learned the story of the librarian who built J.P. Morgan's library, Belle DeCosta Green. Belle DeCosta Green was the daughter of Richard Greener, who was the dean of Howard's Law School, graduate of Harvard Law School. But her mother took the kids after they divorced, changed their name from Greener to Green, put an E on the end, and passed for white. She was the most important library of the first half of the 20th century, first important library in the first half of the 20th century. She built the J.P. Morgan Library, Gutenberg Bibles, illuminated manuscripts, known all over the world. And she was passing as white. I never knew it before then. There was a major exhibit at the J.P. Morgan Library over the last several months. I got a chance to go up and see it. And anybody wants to know, but this is where I'm going to. She never had children because she was terrified, among other things, that if she had had children, the baby may come out and reveal the secret. But she had her sister's son who grew to maturity. She raised him like a son. He was a veteran, went off. He was getting married to a white woman out of the elite class. The white woman found out that he was black, broke up with him, wrote him a letter and said, you must promise me to never have children. And the boy killed himself. It broke Belle DeCosta Green's heart because he was terrified as well as her that the secret would be discovered in the bloodlines of the children. So while we talk about the passing advantage, this is where Sterling Brown came up with the moniker, the so-called tragic mulatto. This is one of the archetypes you see in literature. There is a real pain and a price to pay when people get outed when they don't want to be outed, and it just speaks to the absurdity of race in this country. So Robert Prevost, man, but you know whether he is or not, and it looks like the evidence is trending toward he is. You know, Negroes gonna have T-shirts, man. These MAGA about to lose their mind.
Listen, it's gonna be lots of gumbo at the Vatican.
Oh man,
I'm just letting y'all know what's gonna go down. So hey, listen. It's gonna be
Roland, don't out your Auntie Rita or whoever it is. Don't do that.
Hey,
Please don't do that.
oh hell no! First of all, no, damn that shit. No, see, you gonna make me cuss. No, damn that.
You know,
No, hell no. My aunt Rita used to secretly come and visit my grandmother. They had a system where she could call, but her daughter can go to hell.
Wow.
That my grandmother did not get to mourn her own sister. Cause her trifling ass daughter told my grandmother a month after my Aunt Rita had died that she died. So yeah, don't be shocked if I roll my ass to Louisiana. And
first of all, I'm shocked that in Louisiana they don't know she's black. That's actually what's shocking to me.
Trust me, my Aunt Rita was really. I mean, she had red hair, was real light skinned. But yeah, I'm just saying. But I'm telling you that right now. Yeah, Ro gonna roll over the cameras one day. I'm just letting y'all know.
Oh my
I'm
God.
letting y'all know. I'm knocking on that door.
I've seen it. It's not pretty. I've seen it. It's not pretty. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna knock on that. I'm gonna knock on that door, and then it's like, what up, cuz? Camera's just rolling.
Man. Oh man.
Camera just rolling. That's right. I'm gonna bring some kente cloth to her kids.
Showed violence today.
I'm just letting y'all know.
Hey, but you Louisiana Negroes, man, y'all are crazy because Adolph Reed told this story. He said his aunt who could pass, they would send her in to get beignets because they didn't know she was black.
Damn.
I mean, so y'all play this thing on both sides. It blows my mind sometimes.
Damn.
It's painful. It's a very painful history, actually. It's very painful. Very, very painful for everybody involved.
And Greg, I know who was the dude at the New York Times? His daughter, remember the New York Times? I know you got a book.
Antoine Braillard.
I know you got the book. Yeah, he was like a literary critic or something.
Yeah,
and
Braillard.
Like he was at the New York Times, like y'all in the 30s and 40s. Didn't nobody know he was black.
That's right. Oh, Braillard. I forget how you spell his name. Anatole Braillard. Yeah, that's exactly right. Huge critic, and they didn't know. The daughter, later on, out of New Orleans. He's from New Orleans. That's right.
Mm-hmm. So people don't realize it's a whole. Walter White, who the first executive director of the NAACP, he was so light skinned. He often passed for white to uncover information when he went down south.
I mean, Plessy. They used Plessy for a reason. I mean, it was on purpose.
See, so I keep telling all y'all people, this is why y'all can't watch them other shows. See, y'all don't get none of this stuff
That's right.
When y'all watching the mainstream shows that just boring as hell. So just letting y'all know, y'all don't get none of that stuff.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
So the trial in New York City, the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, really begins in earnest today. Candace Kelly, attorney, joins us right now to tell us exactly what took place in New York City.
Finally, the jurors were seated. That happened today around 10 a.m. And then we went right into opening arguments. The prosecution and the defense, they made a lot of promises. Listen, some of it was a surprise. Some of it was not so much a surprise. What wasn't a surprise was that We had the prosecution painting Sean Combs as a serial abuser. And they went through 3 people. One of them we know was Cassie, as well as somebody by the name of Mia and Jane, setting them up, saying that we would hear from these 3 people and details about them that they hadn't heard before. Now, many of these details we had already heard. But I think one of the things that really stuck out was how they painted Cassie. Yes, we all know her story. We know her journey, or we think we do up till now in terms of what's on the video. But when they said that she was forced to have somebody urinate in her mouth until she choked, I think that that is something that must have caught jurors by surprise. We also heard from the defense saying, listen, Sean Combs may have been a bad boyfriend. He may have been someone who took a lot of drugs. He may have been someone who was in an abusive relationship and was, in fact, an abuser. But that does not make him guilty of what he's on trial for today. In fact, when we look at, the abuse and what happened on that tape, that's a state issue, and certainly the statute of limitations has run on that. So they wanted to make sure that the jury knew, let's separate these 2 things and make sure that we keep focused and our eyes on what we are supposed to be dealing with, and that is the sex trafficking. And that after all, in their opinion, of course, this was not trafficking at all. This was consensual adults. This was strong-willed women who could have gotten out of the relationship, they said, but they didn't. They stayed in this relationship, and that's where we are right now. So we also had some witnesses that we heard from today, too. But I think that when we look at the opening arguments, that set us up for a real journey, a real battle, a lot already that the jurors had to consider.
So, Candace, that's where I'm sort of, is interesting. To your point, this is not a trial about domestic abuse. It's sex trafficking. That's
right. It is sex trafficking, and key to this, and we've gone over this before, is were these people coerced? Mia, Jane, Cassie, the 3 people that the prosecution set up that we would hear from. Another one talked about being beat by Sean Combs. Another one that they say is going to be a witness. They say that she will say that he came in her room late at night as an employee and penetrated her without her consent, and that he orally raped her. But again, the key is coercion. And in all of this, was there coercion? And the defense is saying, listen, they could have left. There were grown women. Why didn't they go? Now, I can only imagine how this would kind of land on jurors' ears. I think we all know people who have been in bad relationships, whether there have been abuse or not. It's difficult to leave. So I think it's very, it's an interesting setup for them to go that route, knowing that, everybody probably in that room has been in a relationship that at one point they did not want to be in, but stayed in a little longer. So that's where we are. But I do definitely want to talk about these 2 witnesses. Listen, right off the bat, Roland, the jurors got to see the videotape. They got to see the videotape at the speed that Sean Combs' defense wanted to see it at. As you know, the speed at which we saw that video that took place, the beating video in Los Angeles in 2016, it was sped up a little bit. And the defense said that, look, this makes it look more aggressive. So they were glad to see that it was slowed down to the rate that it was originally supposed to be at for the jurors to see. They did this in conjunction with their first witness. His name was Israel Flores. He's now a police officer, but he was the security guard that we've been hearing about for such a long time that was paid off. As he said, he got $100,000, enough money that fit between his thumb and his pinky. He got that much money in order to make sure that this video, in his estimation, went away. Got a call about a woman in distress, went up to the 6th floor, but by that time, everything had happened. He says what he saw was a devious-looking Sean in the corner and that Cassie had a purple eye. He walked them back to her room because she refused to get any help. She did not want to press charges, walked her back to her room. Sean Combs, he said, thought that he was taking video of him at that time and jacked him up, grabbed him by the neck, and was abusive with him. So we are hearing from a different perspective what went on that night that we've all been seeing that video about. So a lot of interesting testimony right there.
Well, absolutely. So, listen, obviously what the prosecutors want to do is they want to absolutely establish him being horrible, despicable, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to put the imprint in the minds of that jury. So when the defense gets their part, you want them hating Sean Combs, correct?
Correct. And I think that the defense has said, hey, jury, go ahead and hate on Sean Combs. You can hate him all you want, but this wasn't against the law. He's despicable. He's an abuser. He took drugs consistently, but that does not make him someone that sex trafficked people, which is why witness number 2 was interesting. His name was Daniel Phillip. This is someone who said that for 2 years, he had been paid $600, $700 to $6,000 at a time to come and be a part of these freak-offs, to come and be a part of what they are also calling King's Nights, because as the prosecution said, Sean Combs considered himself a king, and these were King's Nights. He said that actually these invites would come from Cassie. The payment transaction would happen with Cassie, but when he would get into the room with Sean Combs and Cassie for a threesome, Sean Combs would be in a corner with a bandana over the bottom half of his face, as well as a hat. He did say he knew that it was Sean Combs, but he said that many times during their interactions, Cassie appeared to be scared, or he would hear in the next room Sean Combs berating her and smacking her and hitting her. He said at one time, Daniel Phillip said that, while I was paid, I was also there and felt like I needed to help her. He said that Cassie came to him and kind of jumped on his lap out of being scared because of Sean Combs. And he asked her, he said, why are you in this relationship? I don't understand why you are staying, and you need to go. So just a very interesting take from these 2 witnesses with some facts that we just haven't heard about yet.
All right, then. Well, it's going to be a whole lot more of this, that kind of testimony that we can reasonably expect. And so we certainly appreciate you breaking it all down for us, Candace. And we'll be chatting with you again and again.
All right. And can I jump in and say one more thing? A very pregnant Cassie. They expected her to go on the stand today, ran out of time. I expect that we will see Cassie take the stand tomorrow, Roland.
Well, that will no doubt be some explosive testimony coming from Cassie, because it was her lawsuit that once it was filed public that really kicked all of this off. And Sean Combs settled that lawsuit some 24 hours later, but the damage had already been done. And that is what jump-started the federal investigation that led us to where we are today. Candace, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
It was Fever in the Funk House on Capitol Hill. First up, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. Boy, Congresswoman Bonnie Coleman Watson laid into his ass when it comes to his agency. Roll it.
Mr. Secretary, Few things enrage me more than the racist attacks I see this administration carrying out by embarking on an ignorant crusade to rid the government of any programs that are working to improve the lives of Black Americans. The administration has moved to ban the words Black, race, bias, minority, oppression, prejudice, discrimination, disparity, and racism. Any grant application on federal programs that include these words had them immediately stripped. It is painfully clear to me that in doing this administration that you work with and work for is attempting to legitimize racial discrimination, and that, sir, is a moral disgrace. It is not woke to improve the health and well-being of Black people who are disparingly impacted by just about every health issue. It should not be controversial to make right a healthcare system that was not built to help people like me, to take my concerns, my pain, my health very seriously in this country. Black women die from childbirth complications at a higher rate in this country than any other high-income country. And last year, where there was overall maternal deaths dropping in this country, well, Black women maternal deaths rose. This sickens me, and it tells me that our government has so much more that we must do to focus on improving the lives of Black women, not less. Your decision and justifications are damning and troubling, particularly for destructive impacts your choices and benefits will have on poor minority people. So tell me, sir, how will eliminating minority health offices, how will eliminating initiatives and programs across the department that were created to look at the disparity in healthcare and the need to give greater attention to the fact that Black folks' experience in healthcare was very damaging, was very different. How exactly will HHS banning the words that we use to describe ourselves make us healthier?
Congressman, President Trump's vision of this country is the same as Martin Luther King's, that we should have a colorblind administration. President Trump is deeply concerned about the maternal health crisis and the fact that Black mothers are more likely to die in childbirth 2.6 times, 260%.
So how likely to die. Excuse me, sir. Let me claim my time because I don't need this rhetoric about Donald Trump and the lie that he cares about me and Black people. What I want to know is the proposals. I'm claiming my time, sir. Reclaiming it. I want to know specifically, how do you intend to address those disparities and to overcome those disparities as it relates to Black health in this country with the changes that you've decided are important, or someone has decided for you, I don't know, with your department? Specifically, sir.
I've spent a lifetime working on those priorities, and I continue to do so. We have 8 divisions, 8 programs for minority health at HHS. We've closed one of those offices. We're maintaining the other 7. We have 42 programs for maternal health. We're going to close a couple of them and consolidate them. We're going to still spend $1.7 billion a year. The commitment is there. We're just reorganizing.
Okay, you know what? And the impact of reorganization is something that I shall continually ask you to show me. So please let me warn you now.
I welcome those inquiries.
And I don't want rhetoric. I want numbers. The other thing that really troubles me, sir, is LIHEAP. It is a program specifically to address the needs of low-income and minority families as it relates to heating and even air conditioning. Why? And what is your rationale for eliminating that program specifically? Why?
I'm very committed to LIHEAP. My brother ran a low...
I don't care about your past. I care about your functioning in this department, in this administration right now in response to this question?
My time has expired.
Oh, well, then so has your legitimacy. I yield back.
Well, now, my panel, Rebecca Carruthers, Executive Vice President, Fair Election Center out of D.C., Niambe Carter, author and Associate Professor, School of Public Policy, University of Maryland. Also, Andrew Clark, Managing Partner, District Legal Group out of D.C. Glad to have all three of you here. It was a little fired up there, Rebecca. A little fired up there. Okay, let me know when we get Rebecca back. Niambe, I'll go to you. That's what happens when this called light his ass up.
Well, listen, I think this is a problem that so many of us have with this administration. Look, Bonnie Coleman has been around for a very long time. She is not a dumb woman and not to be trifled with. And unfortunately, we don't see a lot of fire in the belly like we see from her. And I think that's why it's so exciting to see, because this is the kind of congressional oversight we need. It has been clear that in this particular administration that people's credentials and bona fides do not matter. And Kennedy was trying to give a lot of talking points, even invoking Martin Luther King, who, quite frankly, if they had their way, we wouldn't even be able to talk about him, his name, or his politics. They want to misrepresent their record. And the fact of the matter is these people don't care about Black people, and they certainly don't care about Black women. And so this whole talking point of what we're trying to do is reorganize, is consolidate. We want to make healthcare delivery better for Black women is hogwash. We know they're doing everything they can to undermine the social supports and the social welfare network that could support many Black families, Black mothers, particularly those who are low income. And everything from firing federal workers, where we know a lot of Black women are employed or were employed before this administration, down to Medicaid and Medicare expansion. These people don't care about Black people. And I think what Congresswoman Coleman did show was that these people are just about the talk. The only thing they care about doing is destroying and lying, quite frankly. And, you have to think about what our grandmothers told us. If you lie, you cheat. If you cheat, you steal. And if you steal, you kill. And these are politics of death these people are dealing in. We won't even be testing our milk pretty soon. This should concern all of us. And I think she cut to the quick with this one today.
Rebecca, listen, this is what needs to happen, how they must be challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. Because here's the bottom line. If this administration cared about the health and well-being of Black people, then they would do what it takes to increase the number of Black healthcare workers, specifically Black doctors in this country. Today, they would not have went after and decided to investigate some scholarships in Ohio that looks to diversify the medical industry. If this administration really cared about the health and well-being of Black folks, then the president would not have the executive order that looks to change some of the accreditation policies for medical schools, which includes having demographics around diversity to make sure that there's a diversified pipeline of people of color that's entering into the medical profession. So, hats off to the Congresswoman for using her voice and being forceful. And this is the type of thing that we need in order to challenge this administration.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these thugs are going to do exactly what they're going to do. And Andrew, they must be pushed, prodded, and called out and challenged at every turn.
And first off, we're talking about healthcare here. Can we just address the elephant in the room? What is going on with my man's voice? Why does he sound so raspy? And he's supposed to be the head of the health of the whole entire United States. Somebody get him a cup of tea. Somebody get him a lunch or something, because the boy just don't sound right. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know what to do with women's rights, because then I'm just going to be just like him. I'll leave that to my esteemed panelists. But one thing that I hate when they say, when they talk about equality, and they try to bring up Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King lived in a time when there was no equality, and he was trying to at least get us up on the same pedestal. And what we're talking about here today is discrimination to try to knock us down off the pedestal to which we're sitting. So please stop using MLK's name, and also please somebody get that man a cough drop or something.
No. Somebody get him a new job.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
42nd day, Cassie Ventura returned to the stand in the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, and man, it was just as shocking and devastating as it was on yesterday. Legal analyst Candace Kelly joins us right now with the breakdown.
You know, like you said, it was a lot. What we found out actually were more details, kind of just the hundreds of encounters of these freak-offs. Cassie really broke down everything. What she also said was that at one point, Sean Combs did say that he wanted to blow up Kid Cudi's car, wanted to make sure that all of his friends were there. And she also mentioned that many, many times she said that she did not want to do this anymore. Remember, that's very important to the case that the prosecution is trying to prove. But here's what was the really big bombshell, and this came at the end of the day. Cassie explained that when she finally broke up with Sean, she decided that she would have dinner with him. She said it was a fine dinner, a lovely dinner, but when they got back home, he raped her. I mean, and this was at the end of the day. So this was really, really big news on top of such big news that, you know, this is why they asked jurors on questionnaires, are you comfortable with very detailed explanations about what goes on when people are in the middle of sex? She talked about how when Sean Combs found out that she was dating Kid Cudi, that he started beating her as she was having sex during one of these freak-offs. She talked about getting sores in her mouth because of having so much different types of oral sex with so many different people, and uterine tract infections that the medicines just wouldn't heal. I mean, it was just a day of details. And when asked how many freak-offs did she think she was a part of, she said too many to count. She eventually said hundreds. So just a lot went on today. And certainly a lot will go on tomorrow. That's when cross-examination will begin.
She also talked about her 29th birthday, that he was just calling her so much that he wanted to have a freak off, and she just left her friends at a karaoke bar.
She absolutely did. And this was more than on one occasion where she abandoned an event or abandoned friends at the karaoke bar. She abandoned a Prince concert when he heard that she was coming. He rushed right out of there. She said she fell in her heels because she knew that she was going to be in trouble. And that was what the crux of what she was saying, that, listen, I'm abandoning people. I'm scared. I'm scared of this man. I'm scared for my life. She mentioned that he had guns. She also had pictures that were shown to the jury. Now, these were her own pictures that she took over the years. Some of the pictures her mother took of bruises on the back of her body. Of course, the jury got to see that, but everybody else in the court gallery did not see that. In fact, we won't see any of that. This is part of the stipulation and decision that was made by the judge. But there were a lot of pictures, and I would say, again, a lot of details just kind of layering on that. This was something that she was doing every single week, 3 hours, 4 hours at a time, taking drugs. She mentioned the use of the IV drip in order to revive her when she was getting tired. She mentioned once waking up in the shower after having blacked out. So, I mean, today was a day of details. She mentioned more than 10 men by names that were brought in as escorts, really building the prosecution's case. I will say that if I was defending Sean Combs, I would have to dig into a couple of things that she brought up. Number one, she did initiate a couple of fights. She talked about initiating fights with Sean Combs. She talked about initiating a fight with someone who was taking a picture of her. She talked about texts that she sent to Sean Combs saying, "I love you, you make me so happy." She talked about a lot of things that might seem confusing to jurors and that they're going to have to decipher whether or not, was she being real or not. Another big deal of the day was the fact that, yes, we all know that there was a settlement, but she told everybody in the courtroom that that settlement was $20 million. And I will say, if I was a defense attorney, I would be bringing that up, asking her why was she asking for that money? Why did it take her so long to ask for that money? Was it because she married someone that did not have as much money as Sean Combs? I would get on her about the fact that she did go on shopping sprees, that he paid for apartments and places where she lived. We really do have to look at both sides, because on cross, this is what we are going to see the defense break down.
I read one report where the defense told the judge they're going to be shifting their strategy as a result of her testimony.
Well, sure. They have to be very, very careful because she is a pregnant woman. She had very, very tight witness testimony, and they have to be careful to make sure that the empathy that she gets is not magnified so much by the jurors. They're going to have to be nice to her. This will not be a regular cross. You normally have a cross-examination where you impeach the witness. You make sure that you want them to come off as liars to the jurors. That's going to be very, very difficult in this situation. Plus, what she's doing is she's giving up information before they can bring it up. For example, as I said, she said that she did start fights. Well, that's something that they can talk about. But the fact that she put everything out there, this is something that they're going to have to change. She was a likable witness, believable witness. Again, a few holes, but they definitely have to go a little more gingerly than they would on someone who was not 8 months pregnant.
Again, it was a lot today about domestic violence. And so do you believe that part of this strategy is that for the prosecution, that they want this jury to be repulsed by Sean Diddy Combs?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they want them to be repulsed. I think that they want them to know all of the details. I think they want them to be really sick to their stomachs, because when you hear this type of information where, a regular drug is not kind of curing something that a lot of women get, a UTI, that kind of puts a little hole in my stomach that she couldn't cure that because she was involved in this domestic violence situation. I listen, there are a lot of ways that this can happen too. I mentioned the expert that we're going to hear from that will kind of justify and contextualize all of this. I would also suggest that if anybody wants to look at, those people who are in violent situations, look at the Duluth model out of Minnesota. Of control and power. It talks about all of the ways that women and men are controlled, economically and physically, and made to feel like they're alienated from their friends. All of that plays into this. And I've worked with a lot of domestic violence survivors, so she seemed pretty typical, but we definitely need some contextualization as to what she was going through and what someone inside of that type of violent relationship is feeling, because she stayed for a very long time.
Questions from our panel. Rebecca, you first.
Well, thank you so much for your reporting. But as you talked about the testimony today that was centered around domestic abuse and domestic violence, we know that that isn't in the criminal complaint, but specifically it's around coercion and sex trafficking. How do you think the state is going, how do you think the prosecution is going to start to move over to the trafficking and the coercion to prove its case?
Well, and thank you for the question. There was one point in her testimony where she talked about getting on a commercial flight. And during that flight, she made reference to the fact that Sean Combs, right on the plane, pulled up video that she thought was deleted just to make sure that she knew she had to continue in those freak-offs. And this was after she had said several times, I do not want to be a part of these freak-offs. So I think that many people might look at that as coercion. There's threat, there's intimidation, there's that level of coercion. So they're drawing and connecting the dots very slowly, because you're right. There isn't anything outright that says Sean Combs wrote a note that says, I will kill you if you do not go to these freak-offs. But the way that she was treated, how many times she was beaten and punched and kicked in her head, I think that the jury will be able to connect the dots and make that coercion part of it really stick.
Nyambe.
Yeah, so thank you again, Candace, for those details. I mean, I know it's pretty harrowing. Does it seem like the jury is reacting at all to those details, or is everyone trying to maintain a poker face? Because I think that's a pretty harrowing set of allegations there.
No, absolutely. So listen, I've been in and out of the courthouse. At one point, it's reported that one of the jurors, when they saw these pictures that she had, gasped and put their hand up against their chest, because they were very, very surprised at the bruises that were shown that she took of herself. But most of the time, they have just had a poker face. And I think that they've just been taking everything in, as Sean Combs is too. I think what's also interesting is that while Sean Combs probably will not take the witness stand, just him sitting there all gray, reading the Bible, taking notes, saying thank you to everybody with his hands clasped. You really are testifying when you're sitting there. So I think that the jury is just taking all of that in, and they're trying to be as poker faced as possible.
Andrew?
Yes, thank you for your reporting on this. What's the overall, temperament in the courtroom in general? Are things pretty contentious? Is everyone pretty civil? What are things like?
Oh, everybody is very civil. If you want to judge on any case, this is the judge to have. He is very civil. All the attorneys are very civil, and I mean, they're powerhouses of attorneys, so they're interesting to watch them do their work. It is packed. It's not as packed. I covered the Sean Combs shooting trial in 2001. It wasn't like that. It's certainly more kind of an assembly line of people who were sitting in there. I think what was interesting is that when we all sit down in court, the manager of the courtroom says, hey, listen, you cannot talk and you have to be respectful, because this is a part where the press has a responsibility to the public in order to report everything that's going on. I like that very much, because this is why we have the press and people like me who are able to go into the courtroom. But it is very civil and very quiet. Outside, it's a madhouse. I mean, people are in line right now in order to be inside of the courthouse tomorrow. There have been fights that have been breaking out, and there's a lot going on. But inside, very, very cordial.
Well, again, it is a whole lot to take in. And again, the trial is expected to go 8 weeks. This is only day 2. So the question then really becomes, what does the prosecution unveil? Again, I saw that attorneys for a couple of other witnesses, including one person who was a Combs assistant, talked about how scared to death and nervous they are testifying.
Oh, absolutely. This is probably, she goes by the name of Mia. This was mentioned in the first day of the opening statements for the prosecution. We heard more about Mia today from Cassie Ventura and how she was treated as his assistant or an employee. And you know what we'll probably hear, he's facing dozens of civil lawsuits. And of course, there was due diligence done to talk to all those people who filed. We'll probably hear from those people who filed those civil lawsuits. But absolutely, we're going to hear from 2 or 3 other women, depending upon if they can get that one who's kind of missing in action. We're going to hear their firsthand testimony as victims in this trial.
All right. Candace Kelly, we appreciate it. Thanks for the breakdown.
All right. Good to see you.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Lots to talk about with my next guest. His name has been bandied about a lot. You have DNC Vice Chair David Hogue, who took exception to a comment that Congressman Jim Clyburn made about running for re-election. You've got other progressives blasting him, but you've got folks saying, wait a minute, why do these white liberals keep going after black members of Congress? If you're going to criticize Congressman Clyburn because of his age, why people are so quiet about Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, and others? Well, Congressman Jim Clyburn joins us right now. Congressman, always glad to have you here. I got to read this for you. I saw this tweet earlier that I got a kick out of. So Cenk Uygur with the Young Turks made this comment. He said, why do we have to, so Bakari Sellers said, I like David, is it David Hogg or David Hogue? I want to pronounce his name right. The young man of the DNC.
I don't know. I call him Hogg.
All right. So Bakari tweeted 2 days ago, I like David Hogg, don't know David, but the audacity to tell Clyburn to get over himself is wild. Because on Bill Maher's show, he said there have been a few members that have come out that have said, if I retire, my life is effectively over. Get over yourself. This isn't about you. So Cenk Uygur responded saying, why do we have to have respect for Clyburn? What a weird ask. Here's a man who has hurt progressives more than anyone in Congress, who is a lifelong politician and serves the corporate donor class loyally and even worked with GOP to cost Democrats an extra seat in South Carolina. No thanks. And so you have these young folks out here saying that there are too many older members. So what do you say to that?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Roland. First of all, I've never been on Dave Maher, what's his name?
Bill Maher's
show. Never have been on it. I don't know where he got that from. I've never said anything like that in my life because I don't even believe that. The fact of the matter is, I look forward to retiring and spending time on the golf course. So this is not my life. I retired from state government and ran for Congress. I ran for Congress in a very crowded field, and I won with 56% of the vote. And no runoff was required. And so I respond to the people of the 6th Congressional District of South Carolina. They own this seat. I meet with these constituents regularly. I just finished 4 town halls. I'll have 2 next week. And I've had them at the behest of people in the district. And I've been called by people from North Carolina, Georgia, asking me to come to their congressional districts for town hall meetings. And so I respond to Democratic voters. I don't know who these people are who are tweeting and saying whatever they say, but I can say the premise is certainly just not true. I don't consider my life to be over if I don't serve in Congress. I
So
lived a long
they're apparently quoting some Wall Street Journal article. They said the Wall Street Journal quoted you said, quote, Nancy left her seat, Steeny left his seat, I left my seat. What the hell am I supposed to do now? What do you want me? What do you want me to give up my life? And so that's what they're basing this whole thing on.
well, maybe I should have said, do you want me to commit suicide? I mean, that's what, jump off a bridge or something. What do you want? This seat belongs to the people. When the folks in my caucus decided they wanted to go young, I assist with that effort. And that is what the caucus can do. Now, the caucus doesn't own the 6th congressional district seat, no more than the caucus owns Steny Hoyer's seat or Nancy Pelosi's seat. I'm younger than both of them. So we run in our congressional districts at the behest of our constituents. So I don't know what they're talking about. That is just the way things are. I have no idea whether or not I'm going to run for re-election. I'll make up my mind at my annual family meeting later this year. And you know when that takes place. And we'll decide at that time in consultation with my party here in South Carolina, as well as the constituents that I serve. And so David Hogg or Hogue or whoever it might be won't be making that decision. My constituents will do that.
You'll be 85 in July. Congresswoman Maxine Waters is going to be 87 in August. So when you hear people say, I'm sick of these people, they too old, they've been here too long, there are a lot of people who love the fire and the vigor of Congressman Maxine Waters. And look, I've been to South Carolina. I know how your constituents feel about you. I know how Congressional Black Caucus members feel about you as well. And so when you hear people say, well, we need to get rid of these folks who are too old. And look, I understand that argument when you're talking about folks who have been ill, who have been sick. You've had two Democrats who passed away this year. One from Arizona, of course, my frat brother, my alpha brother, former mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, passed away as well. But there are members who still got a lot of fight in them. So what do you say to folks who say, look, you keep saying I'm too old. Listen, all you got to do is run against me if you want the seat.
Well, I say the seat belongs to the people of the 6th congressional district. I have opponents every time in the Democratic primary. Last time I had an opponent, I think they had 2 opponents, and they shared 8% of the vote, and I got 92%. In the general election, I used to get 60%. And so I know that constituents let their feelings be known. I go to church in this district. I go to meetings in this district. I talk to people in this district. And quite frankly, I feel very comfortable with the people I serve. And they seem to be pretty comfortable with me.
What's interesting to me is a lot of people, and this is sort of strange to me, they blame you for President Joe Biden because your endorsement was hugely important for him in South Carolina. But I got to remind people, he didn't win all the delegates required to be president in South Carolina. There were other primaries for the people who supported Bernie Sanders. I keep saying, hey, if Bernie was the choice, voters in other states could have chose him. So, what do you make of the folk who are constantly complaining that you're the problem for helping Joe Biden when, listen, there were a lot of people who ran in 2020, and hell, if the progressive voters wanted somebody else, they could have picked somebody else.
Absolutely. And it's kind of interesting to me because anybody who want to blame me for Joe Biden, I accept that. I'm very proud of that. I do believe that if you look at Joe Biden's record, the own substance, he comes as good as a get second to Lyndon Baines Johnson in production, in substance. Now, Joe Biden's style doesn't fit a lot of people. My style don't fit a lot of people. The fact of the matter is, there's no substitute for substance. And you look at Joe Biden's record, how can you argue with the record? It's clear. You said the polling numbers were bad. Was that on substance or was that on style? And I still maintain that Joe Biden had a very productive presidency. And I do believe that he will go down in history based upon that production. I don't apologize for Joe Biden. In fact, I take great pride in it.
How do you respond if critics say Congressman Jim Clyburn, he's not progressive enough? He blocks progressive policies. We need more progressive leadership. How do you respond to that?
Well, I would like to look at the record. What determines progressivity? If it's your record, show me who's got a more progressive voting record than I've got. I'd like to know where the difference is. And if you look at, it's just, I don't call people names. I confine profanity. People want to use it. I just don't use profanity in the public. I don't even use, some people talk about 3 4-letter words. That there's a 3-letter word that I never try not to use. LIE. My parents did not allow me to use that word. And so I just don't have a style to go around calling people's names. I'd rather make headway than to make headlines. If you're looking for headlines, then you got to find somebody else. If you're looking to make headway, then I'm your guy. And look at the production, and I think you agree to me. Let me give you a couple of things. When I got elected to Congress, we didn't have a single national park in historic South Carolina. We now got 3. We didn't have a single heritage corridor in this historic state where the Reconstruction era began here in South Carolina. We now have 4. And guess what? All 7 of those things have got one thing in common. They are my bills. I created all of them. And so when people say, you've never done anything, ask them, who created the Rural Energy Savings Program that I got the Legislator of the Year award from the National Electric Co-ops because of that program? Who got the 10, 20, 30 funding formula that's now in 17 sections of the appropriations bills? I can go on, and I'll ask, what progressive do you measure progressivity by the bills you introduce or by the bills you get passed? And when you measure by the bills you get passed, I'm sitting, as we say down here in the South, in pretty high cotton.
I do want to talk about what's going on right now. Today, Donald Trump flew in on a State Department plane, 50 white Afrikaners, enlisting them as refugees, providing them housing, food assistance, things along those lines. He claimed that they are facing racial discrimination in South Carolina, in South Africa. First of all, there was 2 things that were similar. That is South Carolina when it came to the Civil War and apartheid in South Africa. Those were 2 things very much in common. But what's crazy to me is that was a law that prevented Black people from owning land. And he's talking about how land has been taken from whites there, when whites make up 7% of the population in there, but they own more than 70% of the land. And I have been trying to explain to people this constantly. Donald Trump wants white immigrants. He does not want Black and brown immigrants in America?
Well, he said it. How many times would he need to say it? And we refer to the home countries of people of color as S-hole countries. What is he saying? When we just got the recognition of white South Africans, and there are black South Africans, and why can't they get visas to come into the country? When he talks about immigration, he makes it very clear that he sees immigration as being white only. And now, there's a biblical scripture, as you know, I grew up in a parsonage. I think it's found in around the 7th chapter of the book of St. Matthew's. It says, it is not their words by which we know them, it's their deeds by which we know them. And so no matter what Trump may say to the contrary, look at what he is doing. Look at what he's doing to the National African American Museum. Look at what he's doing to the first African American woman to head up the Library of Congress. And she only had 1 year left in the 10 years, but he fired her. Why? Simply because he wants to demonstrate to certain people in this country how anti-Black he can be. It's just that simple. And so when I see, as I did last week, right here in South Carolina, 3 African Americans on TV saying they voted for Trump the last time and they're going to vote for him, they will vote for him again. And the gentleman says, yeah, I know he's an a-hole, but he's authentic. Now, come on. Ku Klux Klanmen, white supremacists, they're all authentic. So you're telling me I will abide with your racism so long as you're being authenticated. I'm not too sure what that really means in this country we're currently living in.
I have some other questions, but I want to let my panelists also get in here. First up is Melinda Hale. She's an actress and creator of Black Voices Heard Project. Melinda, what's your question for Congressman Jim Clyburn?
I just want to understand how we are trying to pass this policy when it's like a fake moral panic. And so I'm just curious when it comes to Donald Trump wanting to bring these white South Afrikaner refugees to the States, how he's going to really push this narrative that they are in trouble versus the Black and brown refugees who actually are fleeing dictatorship and have political unrest in their countries or economic instability.
Well, if you're looking to me for an answer, I don't know. I don't think he can reconcile that. And I don't think he's going to try. I think he's doing what he's doing in order to send signals. He would hope that we in the Congress would raise issues about it so that he can say to his so-called MAGA base, I told you so. So I think that's what's going on here. I don't believe that he cares one bit about how it looks or how it feels to other people.
Kelly Bethea, communications strategist. Kelly, what's your question for Congressman Jim Clyburn?
Hi, Congressman. Good evening. My question is centered around the fact that we know now for sure that the Republicans, Donald Trump's administration in particular, is following Project 2025 almost to a T, page for page. And I guess my question to you is, do you know whether there is an answer for the Democrat side to Project 2025? And I ask that because I will never say that the Dems are doing absolutely nothing, that we're not hearing from them, blah, blah, blah. But it does appear that the answer that we are seeing out of Democrats are a lot more fragmented, and it doesn't seem as cohesive as what appears to be the united front of the Republican Party, be that good, bad, or indifferent. So my question is there a cohesive, unified front answer from the Democrats to the Republicans' Project 2025?
Well, no, there's not one single answer to it. As you know, Project 2025, if my memory serves, is about 950 pages. I went through that document before the Democratic Convention last year, and you may recall when I spoke at the convention, I said this: Project 2025 is Jim Crow 2.0. Now, some people went after me for saying that. Well, I'm going to say it again. Project 2025 is Jim Crow 2.0. And I think it's being borne out. So I don't understand why people are spending so much time talking about people's ages when we know that the seat that I sit in is, I don't care if you're 85 or 25, it's a Democratic seat. But that's one of 213. We need 218 in the House of Representatives in order to make law. So nobody is spending any time on those other seats, except maybe yours truly. I was in Nancy Mace's district last week. I was in the 4th Congressional District the week before, trying to create the possibilities of picking up Democratic seats. So that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us spending time and resources in districts not held by Democrats. And when you've got somebody running out there saying, I'm going to raise $10 million to run people against incumbent Democrats, what does that get you? Replacing one of the 213 gets you nothing. You got to pick up some of those other 5 seat districts in order for us to change what's happening in Washington. Mm-hmm. And so I would think that we ought to really focus. Now, let me tell you what Democrats are doing. Hakeem Jeffries is doing an exceptionally good job. He, like all of us, have got to keep our caucus together to fight this new budget that's coming down. We've got to do what is necessary to maintain Social Security, to keep creditable Medicare and Medicaid, what I would call affordable housing. We have got to keep our caucus together, and we have got to try to do what's necessary to pick up 4 or 5 votes on the other side in order to stop this budget. We are not going to stop this budget with this circular firing squad that seem to be running around all over the country, shooting at people who are working hard to try to get things done. Now, let me give you an example of what is happening in a lot of places in the media. People look at Social Security. I see all kinds of stuff about Social Security need to be gotten rid of because they ain't going to be there for the young people of today. Social Security is there for young people right now. I know plenty of people in my congressional district who are 18, 19, and 20 years old receiving Social Security because they're getting survivor benefits that come from a parent or grandparent who has passed on to them the benefits that they get for surviving with Social Security. So Social Security is not anything that's just there for older people. Young people, 15, 16, 17 years old right now benefit from Social Security. Medicaid. Medicaid is not just there for low-income people. It's there for everybody who needs nursing home care right now. And let me tell you how that benefits. You got a parent or a grandparent need to be in a nursing home, get rid of Medicaid, nursing homes go away, then who will have to take care of that parent or grandparent? So I think we need to focus on exactly what is going on in Washington. These people are trying to create an underclass and make that underclass a poor class. That is what is going on.
Attorney John Quell Neal out of Atlanta. Is John Quell there? Guys, let me know if she's there. All right, let me let me know what's going on here. Congress, let me ask you this question here. I got to get your take on this grifter in chief happily accepting this $400 million plane from Qatar. His family settled that lawsuit. Excuse me, they announced that resort $5.5 billion on the continent. They keep doing these deals. He's selling this meme coin. He's hosting this dinner for people who buy his coins. For all the people who attack Hunter Biden for selling art, and MAGA held all these hearings about corruption with alleged corruption with Joe Biden, Republicans, your fellow House members, Senate members, are absolutely silent over this grifter in chief that occupies the Oval Office.
You know, there are a lot of things wrong with this airplane business. It is not just about grifting. This guy, I don't know of anything that I've seen since I've been in government. And I've been around government a long, long time. I've been on this earth a long time. I've never seen anything like this. I never thought I would live to see the day that the American people will accept this kind of violations of our Constitution. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And let me say a couple other things about that. This is also about a security issue. In 1972, I was in the Soviet Union. And when we were in the Soviet Union, we could not go, but we had to go to temporary embassies. Why? You may recall that we built a new embassy in Moscow. And what happened? We found out that they had put listening devices throughout that building, inside the walls, and it was so bad, they had to tear it down. We never could occupy it. Now we're going to get an airplane made in a foreign country and going to have the White House have the discussions that go on that airplane, listened to by people all over the world. How can we possibly sit silently by and allow this to happen? I just don't understand this. We need 218 votes in the House to stop this. And if one of those 218 happens to be Jim Clyburn or Maxine Waters or Steny Hoyer or Nancy Pelosi, so long as they help us get to 218.
John Quell is back. John Quell, what's your question for the congressman?
Being here, as it relates to the aircraft that you were just talking about, how do you feel as a reference to President Trump accepting this plane as being a violation of the emoluments clause, which requires that Congress approve any kind of acceptance of gifts from foreign governments?
Absolutely. I believe the emoluments clause is there, it's in the Constitution, and Congress has to decide that. And I just don't believe that there are 218 votes in the Congress for that to happen. I know Republicans who will not vote for that. They know how bad that is. They know it's not just him being a grifter. It is about our national security. In order for that plane to be safe, it's going to have to be taken apart screw by screw in order for them to ever be able to determine whether or not it's safe to be discussing national secrets in. So if you don't mind him being corrupt, okay, let's worry about the national security and what that will do if this plan is ever used by our chief executive.
Well, we see the drama that's going on with this guy, and I'm cracking up how Republicans are praising him for this so-called China deal when the end result is that the tariffs are going up and the American taxpayer is being screwed by Donald Trump. So I know that has to tick you off because, listen, the tariffs are impacting employers there in South Carolina, automakers. They're looking at making massive cuts. And this fool is running around talking like he is just the most brilliant negotiator in the world.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. The tariffs. Rural people in this state, farmers, are going to see their crops rot in the fields because they're losing customers overseas. Volvo just announced that it's laying off workers because of tariffs. We just had Donald Trump to say when he was told what this is going to do about employment. I couldn't care less, is what he had to say. And then when he was told that all these ships that we expect to bring goods in are not coming, what did he say? That means we're going to lose less money. So the country is going to lose less money, but that is good. When people lose their jobs, you just don't care. I'm telling you, we need to get real about what's going on here. This is a repeat of the great betrayal. I refer to that period. I don't know if I've talked to you about this, Roland, but I just finished my third book. And this book is about the 8 African Americans that served in Congress from South Carolina before me. The problem is there are 95 years between number 8 and number 9. And the reason there are 95 years there is because of what I call the Great Betrayal. The Great Betrayal took place when Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican from Ohio, turned his back on those black folks who had voted for him. Those black folks were all members of the party of Lincoln. But Hayes double-crossed them. Everybody keeps talking about the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln. It is also the party of Rutherford B. Hayes. Yes, Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation and issued it. Hayes brought Reconstruction to an end by double-crossing black folks. The Great Betrayal. What we see taking place now, those black folks who voted for Donald Trump, those progressives who voted for Donald Trump, those people who felt it's better to have an authentic white supremacist than to have a black woman here. You about to see the second great betrayal taking place.
The Great Compromise of 1877 was not great for black folks, absolutely. Congressman Jim Clyburn, I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing what the latest dust-up is among these young progressives. And there was somebody who made a comment, Congressman. I blame black media. They're not holding these people to task. And I got to keep reminding people, there are 435 House seats in America. There are some 700,000, and maybe the number's gone up. 700. They represent some 700,000 people. Those are the people who decide who wins congressional seats. Not national voters, not state voters, but literally in that congressional seat. And I've said I don't have any problem with people running against an incumbent. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. But if you want to beat somebody, what did Muhammad Ali said? If you want the champ's belt, you got to beat the champ. That's how it is. If you want somebody else to be in there, campaign for them, let's see if they win. It comes down to the voters.
Absolutely. And I hope that we will try to do what we can over the next several months to create as many new voters as we possibly can. The fact of the matter is, we are being outvoted because we're being outworked. What Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in his letter from the Birmingham City Jail, he said he was coming to the conclusion that the people of ill will in our society were making a much better use of time than the people of goodwill. And that is what is happening. Last November, the people of ill will made much better use of their time than the people of goodwill. People of goodwill, let's come together and don't let that happen again.
All right, Congressman Clyburn, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
I told y'all Donald Trump only wants white immigrants. The attack on Haitians is because they're black. He called African nations shithole countries. It's because they're black. This is what it's all about. So what is he doing? Literally, yesterday, on a State Department plane, they flew in families, white Afrikaners, so-called, oh my goodness, Trump saying they're facing persecution. You got Carolyn Levitt. She's on the White House. She's up there lying about them as well, and them coming in, welcoming them to the country. Folks, utterly shameful and despicable, okay? And that's what you got going on. Now, remember they were all talking about the Great Replacement Theory? Well, that's what this is. So what Trump is saying, hey, we're going to sit here and we're going to run out all of these, all of these black and brown people, but hey, we're going to import some white people. And here is the Trump Deputy Secretary of State greeting these Afrikaners, and I'm going to play some other stuff where he praised them for their long history of being great people. I want y'all just listen to this question and answer.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to know, there were many, from the BBC, there are many people who fit the criteria of seeking help, who are fleeing persecution. Afghans, for example, I mean, they live in a country run by the Taliban, but they're being denied refugee status. So I'm wondering, why has such an exception been made for the Afrikaners, especially when the South African government says they're not in danger? And are you going to open up the refugee settlement program for others?
Thank you for that question. I think you may recall that on the president's first day in office on January 20th of this year, he issued an executive order that paused U.S. refugee programs that had been going at record levels under the prior administration and had brought in people that we were not sure had been carefully vetted for national security issues, and put a pause on the refugee admission program in general. That pause, of course, was subject from the very beginning to exceptions where it was determined that this would be in the interest of the United States. Some of the criteria are making sure that refugees did not pose any challenge to our national security and that they could be assimilated easily into our country. So the president on February 7th issued an executive order about the egregious conditions in South Africa, and all of these folks who have just come in today have been carefully vetted pursuant to our refugee standards, and whether or not the broader refugee programs for other people around the world will be lifted is still an ongoing consideration. But again, the president has recognized the dire situation of this particular group of people, and again, they went through the
Basically, what he's saying is they're white. Now, the South African president, he's pushing back hard on this nonsense, granting refugee status to 59 white Afrikaners. Cyril Ramaphosa calls the move, quote, deeply concerning and insists these individuals do not meet the internationally recognized definition of refugees. Despite the U.S. welcoming them, he says most Afrikaners are not seeking to leave, that those who do are often wealthier and more secure than many black South Africans who are forced to live under hardship during apartheid. Now, also, I want y'all to keep in mind these these Afrikaners, they only represent 7% of the country. 7% of the 63 million people. Oh, but they own more than 70% of the land. Now, what's interesting is I saw this tweet from the white supremacist Charlie Kirk, and y'all gonna really love this here. Because he was touting them coming in. Now, mind you, so let me find the tweet because y'all going to get a kick out of this because it sets up my next guest because I need y'all to understand. Now, here's what. He was talking about. Oh my goodness, how great these people can be, and he's citing this African National Congress thing. Look at the South African Boers face systemic legal discrimination in their country. They face horrifying violence based on their skin color. A political party in their homeland openly calls for genocide. Yet, this is the key right here, y'all. Yet at the same time, they are enormously talented people. They have useful skills. They're very close to America culturally. America can integrate them with minimal difficulty, and they will immediately start adding to America's wealth rather than subtracting. They are, without exaggeration, ideal immigrants for this country. John Boyd is president of the National Black Farmers Association. And John, this is what this is about. What they're saying is, wait a minute, these white folks, they could come in and start farming.
Yes. And Roland, thank you for staying on this real sore topic for me. They brought them in and greeted them. And these are, I want to be very, very clear. They say white Africans. These are white farmers and their families that they welcome into this country. And when did they welcome black people into this country? I asked you that question. We came in the belly of slave ships and chains and shackles. They flew them in on a government plane, and the Virginia governor, shame on him, helped them fly into Dulles, Virginia to greet these 59 families. And they're going to provide a resettlement for these people. I want to be very, very clear. Blacks we never got our 1.5 million acres out of federal inventory that came from black farmers in this country. And they're bringing them into this country, going to provide them with a pathway to citizenship. They're going to give them the tools and all this stuff necessary to make it in the United States, things that they've never done. They never provided a homestead, Roland, in this country for black people, but they're going to do it for white South African farmers based on race. The whole thing this president campaigned on when he said he wanted to do away with DEI because it was race-based and all of this stuff. They want to do away with programs to help blacks in this country, but you want to bring white farmers in, provide them with a pathway to citizenship.
But also housing, food, diapers, like all of this stuff. And I'm sorry, roll a video, y'all. Roll a video. It doesn't look like these people are lacking. I mean, they're coming off the planes with headphones and suitcases. These folks, these ain't no true refugees.
And Roland, they came from farms, probably, and some of these farms are better shape than the many black farmers here in this country where they came from. They own 75% of the land in South Africa. So here the president talking about they face reverse discrimination, and it was genocide. All these words that they use, things that they never defined in this country for black people, and certainly slavery fits that sharecropping and Jim Crow. All of these things fit that definition in this country, but they never said anything about helping our black farmers or helping us get our land out of federal inventory. These are things that need to be raised while they're bringing these white farmers in with no pushback. I didn't see anybody pushing back there at that press conference, asking the real hard questions about black farmers in this country. They face discrimination, people. It's historic, decade-long discrimination. I've been spat on, Roland, and by my own government here. I've been called a nigger and 2 or 3 times by my own federal government right here in the United States. I had my land, my farm put in federal inventory right here in my country. And when I watched them bring white farmers in, solely by race, and going to give them a path to citizenship, where my forefathers had to fight even to vote in this country, man, it's hard to look at.
Morgan, Sean Rowe, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, sent this statement out. He said that virtually no new refugees have arrived. Hundreds of staff and resettlement agencies around the country have been laid off, and funding for resettling refugees who've already arrived has been uncertain. Then, just over 2 weeks ago, the federal government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that under the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa, whom the U.S. government has classified as refugees. In light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation, and our historic ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step. Accordingly, we have determined that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will conclude our refugee resettlement grant agreements with the U.S. federal government. Morgan?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement. And I think, one of the things that, let's just say first, what's very sad about this is we have a lot of people around the world who truly do need the support of the U.S. government, the resources that we have, and the ability to escape persecution. And that's what a lot of these organizations, as he laid out, were created to support. And a lot of that infrastructure, here in Columbus, I mean, we have so many different communities, Somali, Russian, Jewish communities that were designated as refugees that have made their home in Central Ohio. And once you have that infrastructure, then you're able to use it to support different communities. So I think that's one thing I would note is just the closing up of that infrastructure and the organizations that have supported those settlement services not being able to continue. You can't just turn that back on necessarily, once there's a change in administration and more resources might come. And so that's a risk here. The other point, though, as we've been talking about is, how this administration is defining refugee clearly is not connected to the reality of how most people think of that term and how it has been implemented in the past. I think one of the political complications around this, and I would love to hear more, from John here, is that part of what, and this is getting back to our earlier conversation too, I mean, part of what is making this, I don't think palatable is the right word, but that they feel licensed to make these types of moves is because they feel like they're operating on some kind of mandate from that election, that there was discontent with how many resources were going towards immigrant refugee communities versus people who have been in this country for a long time. And so I guess, John, as you're having conversations with people, or in this moment where you're thinking about how to push back on some of these policies or looking ahead to what you want to see
prioritized by a different administration. How do you wrestle with that? I think especially in the Black community, where we've heard from I know I've heard directly from people that are frustrated with how many resources have been going to support refugees from all backgrounds. And this is just the latest example of that. Not a position I agree with, but it is a position that I have heard.
Right. And the first thing that the administration came in to do was stop the food aid programs directly that went to South Africa that helped many native black families there. The second thing is I'm looking for an attorney or law firm that can file an injunction in federal court to stop this. I don't think they should be allowed to come to this country and get services and all of these things that are not allowed, and we haven't been able to get in this country as Black farmers. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is they say they want to do away with any type of help. We were told from Wells Fargo, Roland, that we can't even apply because we're trying to help Black farmers here. So they're shutting down all these programs in our country, but yet and still they're doing this solely based on race, white farmers. And I want to challenge that in federal court. So if anybody that's watching this show tonight that got the galls and guts enough to represent us in federal court, I want to hear from them. That's the first thing. And this administration wants to cut off food and cut off resources to blacks around the world is what they're doing. And that's why they quickly went in and cut out the money. And this is by design, people. It's designed by Elon Musk, Stephen Miller. He's the architect behind it. When they want to test something, they throw Stephen Miller out there. We want to do away with the KPIA stuff and all of this stuff. They just want to do away with it. And they put him out there to test the waters. And then they see how it goes. And then they put up with some executive order. It's crazy, and it needs to be dealt with. And we need an uprising in this country, Roland. And guess what, man? I want to say this to Roland Martin because he was the sole microphone that warned Black America just how bad Trump could be. It was you, Roland, that waved that horn every day, and many people weren't listening to it. So now you have to listen and bear the burden of the real effect of what's happening to us.
And we were trying to tell them that this was about whiteness. Donald Trump, the last time he was there, Mustafa, he literally said, hey, why can't we get people? I think it was from Finland or something like that. He wanted white people. That's what he wanted. He wanted blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people. The attacks on the Haitians is because they were Black. And the people in Springfield, Ohio who were upset, it's because they were Black immigrants. And people need to understand this. I laid all this out in my book. I said it. That's why it's called White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. If they could import 5 million white people, they would do this every single day.
I mean, without a doubt. I mean, for the last couple of years when I would be on the show, I would talk about apartheid-esque types of actions that were going on. And people would be like, Mustafa, what are you talking about? And I was like, all you have to do is look at the blueprint that they used in South Africa and how this administration has been utilizing many of those same sets of actions. So now they put it right here in your face. He talks about America first. If it was truly America first, then our Black farmers would have been taken care of, like John and my grandfather and so many others. Whether larger or medium-sized farms or small farms have been trying their best to be able to get justice and to be able to have an equal playing field. But an equal playing field is not a part of the supremacy sets of actions that we have currently going on, because we're seeing it play out right now before your eyes. You're seeing the fast tracking of visas and subsidies. They might as well just gave folks a gift basket. Maybe they did. That they talk about the vetting. It's really interesting when they talk about the vetting. I'm really concerned with what they're actually doing in this space, because originally it was supposed to be 49 folks coming and then 59 folks got off the plane. So somebody evidently didn't do a good job in relationship to vetting. And I know a little bit about that. when it comes to black and brown folks, whether you're from Venezuela, the Congo, Syria, Afghanistan, or Myanmar, he doesn't see value in you being a refugee in this in this country, and are trying to find ways of sending you back or to stop individuals from coming from those countries that are having wars, civil wars. They're having political issues that are going on. They have coups that are going on. They've got real issues that this country should be taking seriously, should be inviting those folks. But we find ourselves in this moment where people have taken off the hood. Let me say that again for the people who are slow, who are watching, who took off the hood and are showing you exactly who they are. So we have to keep putting a spotlight on it. You've got to also make sure that you're reaching out to folks up on Capitol Hill and asking them, what are you doing in this moment? Because you say that you are elected by the American people, but I don't see you necessarily doing the steps that are necessary to protect them and to uplift them and to make sure that they get their just due. But that's the moment that we find ourselves in.
So I want to play this here, John. This is a clip from that same State Department official, but I want you to hear what he actually says to them in greeting these folks. Listen.
Welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. Again, welcome. So great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And, you know, I think it's so happy. It makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands. And that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us. Many of us, our families, have had a journey not that different from the journey that you are embarking on today. My own father was born in Europe and had to leave his country when Hitler came in the 1930s and made his way to South America first and then eventually to the United States. So he is an immigrant who actually, you know, was able to benefit from the many blessings of this country. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to go and work for the government is because I wanted to give back to this country that really brought freedom to my family and allowed us to escape a very difficult situation in another country. So, you know, I know that this is going to be, you know, any adjustment in life, any change takes a while to get used to. But I want you all to know.
What the hell?
Roland, that's the time we're living in right there, where you roll out the carpet for white farmers that coming from South Africa. They had a big press conference and welcomed them to this country. And anybody of darker skin of immigrant in this country, they're chasing them out by the busload and the boatload here. That's the reality, and they keep saying it's not about race. I watched the president when they asked him about it, and he said, you know, these just happen to be white farmers that they're bringing in to help. That's the whole initiative with this whole administration. They simply want to help white people in this country, and that's not the America that we're living in, man. You got people look like me, look like you. We got to live here too. That's the problem right there, Roland. You can't just come out here and say you're going to do that and don't expect to face some pushback. And it also should be a bell ringer for us as Black Americans, man. We got to reorganize. We got to come together. If you can't come together now in this country with all of this white bigotry and hatred towards Black people, man, there's something wrong with us. We need unity right now to band together, Start buying food from each other, from black farmers. Start doing business with blacks, because this administration clearly does not want us. And that's what they're showing us here.
This is, Morgan, this is the clip here that John was referring to. Listen to the liar in chief, the idiot in chief, Donald Trump.
Who claim discrimination in their home country are heading to the United States, where your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Afrikaners but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa.
He's straight lying. There's no genocide. They're not being killed. He is a liar.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, these are just lies. And, it's not even remotely funny, because as that reporter pointed out, there are deadly conflicts going on in other parts of Africa, not South Africa, that are hurting, I'm sure, farmers and all sorts of other people in Sudan, the Congo. And so the fact that we're not going to be providing resources for them, that doesn't seem like it's something that matters to the president of the United States in this moment is very, very upsetting and scary, to be honest. I mean, this level of lying. This does get back, though, to our earlier conversation. One other thing I was going to add, because, I know the books about Biden can seem, and I agree, not a great use of time or energy to be spending a lot of time on the retrospective. But I do think one of the things that creates the opening that makes it more challenging to call out some of these lies is that, they're kind of able to turn and, Democrats are liars too, right? That's a phrase we hear a lot. And to the extent that there were people that maybe knew things about whatever, Biden or not, I don't personally, it's not necessarily, and certainly isn't the big issue of the day, but just saying, like, in a world where most people aren't paying attention, where there's a lot of different information coming at people, these are the types of inconsistencies that I think do facilitate just the rapid fire of lies coming out of Trump, and then it not breaking through with the public. So even if we think that that's not a good use of time, I do think we have to be honest about the fact that Democrats have a trust problem with the general public, whether fair or not, and what are going to be the ways to restore that trust.
But here's the deal, though, Majid, and this is the reality. Before Biden got elected, Trump was lying. He was lying 2017, 2021. He lied. He lied when he was running, going back to 2015. So I don't care if there were people in the White House who were, concealing Joe Biden. But here's the other deal, okay? And here's the problem even with that, okay? Stories like, Joe Biden may have been in the wheelchair. But then I see video of him riding bikes. I'm like, what the hell? At the end of the day, this man is lying. He is allowing white Afrikaners to come into the country under the pretense of genocide in South Africa. He's lying about farmers being killed. That's what he's lying about. And they're lying about even the land redistribution, because these white folks literally stole the land. But you know what? I guess Donald Trump will never have to admit that, because that's what white Europeans did in the United States.
You're right, Roland. And, when I first heard about these white South African farmers being brought over here, it was like a blatant slap in the face. It wasn't even a dog whistle. It was a bullhorn. It was a bullhorn message. Donald Trump was putting up a whites only sign on America, because after everything that he had gone through and had his administration do to get rid of people of color, to deport people, even people who were here with legal standing, just getting rid of them, however he could. And now he's rolling out the red carpet for people. And as Mr. Boyd pointed out, and you pointed out as well, it is all about race, despite the fact that they say, oh, it's they just happen to be white. No. It's not that they just happen to be white. This is the reverse great replacement theory, right? They've been obsessed with this thing for years now.
Yep.
For years, they saw some data maybe a decade or two ago saying that by the year 2050, Caucasians, whites were going to be the minority race, and Latinos were going to be the majority. And so this has them obsessed with, like the whole anti-abortion thing. Yeah, they don't want to abort any more white babies. They want more white babies. Let's pay $5,000. Let's just pay you $5,000 to have some babies. And that's what it's all about. And I personally, this South African thing, I think Elon probably put a bug in Trump's ear about, because even the courts in South Africa said that story is nonsense. There's nothing legitimate about it. How hard would it be for, I'm not a reporter. I'm a guy with the social media account. How hard would it be for a reporter, a journalist, when he said that thing about their being killed, just to open your mouth and say,
but again, though,
no, they're not.
But again, though, it's the strategy. And see, and John, what I need Black people to understand, what I need Black people to really understand what's going on here is, and I have been saying this since the inauguration, Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, MAGA, this is about defunding Black America. When you talk about the attack on the farmers, who was the person who sued the Biden administration when it came to their settlement with Black and Hispanic farmers? It was Stephen Miller's legal group. Donald Trump said, oh, it was an illegal DEI settlement for those Black people in Lowndes County, Alabama, who had sewage being backed up into their yards. They stopped that. They stopped the settlement. They stopped the lawsuit against the petrochemical companies in Cancer Alley in Louisiana that was killing Black people. They stopped the lawsuit against the HOA in Dallas that didn't want Black people in it. They stopped the lawsuits, the HUD lawsuit. They stopped again, they are clearly targeting Black people. And I need Black people to understand that what you're seeing right here is an embracing of white Afrikaners, individuals who were absolutely racist, individuals who beat Black people. These people, and you're right, David Sachs, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk are all white South African men who grew up under apartheid, and they loved that particular system. And what we also cannot forget, there was this country was two countries. Okay, Israel was selling them weapons, but this country, the United States, stood steadfast with the white apartheid regime. It was Ronald Reagan who vetoed the sanctions bill, and he was overwritten by Congress because Republicans were even aghast at that. It was Black people, the Polaroid revolutionary workers, who launched the divestment campaign because it was Polaroid that made the passbooks. It looked like passports that Black people had to carry around to show their proof of citizenship. So I need Black people today to not act like this is no big deal, that 59 white Afrikaners are being let in by Donald Trump. What we are seeing right now from this administration is an all-out assault on Black people.
Yes, and Roland, maybe you tore it up. And I want to make a more direct nail, with the hammer here. $5 billion that I worked 30 years to get in this country. I had to go through acts of Congress and marching and lawsuits. We finally get it. Stephen Miller and that bunch organized white farmers to sue us and organization and stuff in federal court and block $5 billion to black and other farmers of color in this country because they say it left out white farmers is what their sole argument was. And Roland, they sued us in all these federal courts in Florida and Texas and that we had to raise money and come on your show and ask for help, all of these things. They done it because it was the money's the $5 billion was going to go to black and other farmers of color. Now they say, they say you can't do that. You can't pay the $5 billion because it's solely based on race. That's what the argument was in federal court. Now they want to bring white farmers. I'm gonna keep saying it until somebody starts calling it what it is, and their families into the United States, and help them, give them a path to citizenship. And what it says on this executive order, it says right here, refugee resettlement is what they want to do, resettlement and other initiatives. That means money and land and all of these things. They're going to bring them to this country and provide that to them solely based on their whiteness. I'm going to use your word, Roland, white farmers, but they won't do it for blacks in this country. They won't return our land out of inventory, but they want to give it to white South African farmers. They want to give them Native American lands or grazing lands from the Department of Interior, and they want to give them land out of federal inventory. That's what I heard, Roland, from the United States Department of Agriculture that came from black farmers. And I'm going to tell you right now, on your show, Roland, I said it, I would die over my land for anybody who don't know how serious I am about this movement. I would die over my land because the way that my forefathers got it, man, they had to scuffle, they cheated them and done everything they could. And they were able to hold on and hit these people and take your land and give it to white South African farmers. I say no. And guess what? Now, I'm going to use Grandma Ruth's line here, Roland. She would say, you keep on doing bad. There's a stick sitting up out yonder with your name on it. There's a stick sitting out yonder with Donald Trump's name on it. And if he keeps doing wrong, he's going to step on it.
Yep.
Just give him time, bro. He's going to step on that stick that Grandma Ruth is talking about.
All right, John Boyd, keep up the fight. We'll do it as well.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Let me show y'all how quiet some people are, these little black MAGA people. Danielle Carter, the fitness instructor in Chicago, she has an organization, Chicago Flips Red, and also you see her right here at the White House standing with Trump. So I'm on her Twitter feed. Do you know what you don't see, Mustafa? Morgan? Mahi, you know what you don't see? I don't see nothing about these white Afrikaners. Dem party is so over. She got all this stuff. Here's this one tweet. She was criticizing in New Jersey. When was the last time you Dems fought for their loyal base that was vote blue no matter who the black community? Okay, they on here calling Reverend Jesse Jackson Jr., Jesse Jackson Sr., a sellout. Look at this. Daniel C. confronts sellout Jesse Jackson for protecting illegals. That was 3 days ago. I don't see anywhere on here, Majid, I don't see anywhere I don't see her calling out these white Afrikaners. Matter of fact, so let me go on over to that, let's see here. That little child who was cheesing at the White House, Sharice Lane. Let me see, pull her up. She was a FAMU graduate, and she was sitting here. Let's see here. Sharice Lane, and I'm gone. No, so let's see here. She look at here. She got her little American flag, Jamaican flag up. So let's look at Sharice's page. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I don't see nothing about the South Africans. I'm looking. Wow. I'm still looking. I'm still looking. I'm still scrolling. Let's see. Okay. Again, y'all, she was one of these people who was out here just running her mouth and, oh, Trump is this and he's amazing. I literally don't see a single tweet where she's calling out. It's amazing. They missing. Now, Daryl Scott, let me go on his little page. Now, I'll give Daryl credit. Okay, I saw his tweets earlier where he was calling out the folk. But what was missing, he wasn't tagging Trump, his boy. So Daryl said, I'm looking right here. Here it is right here. So Daryl Scott, I wonder what the reception would be if 50 black South Africans came over with their families to assimilate into America. He writes, I lived during the time when there were international outcries against apartheid, which fell upon deaf ears. Excuse my lack of sensitivity. And so wonder where all those refugees got American flags from during their escape from genocide. They looked like they were all bought at the same gift shop for a photo op. And I'm sitting here again. But here's the problem. He ain't directed nothing at Trump. Trump's his boy. He talked about how he got Trump's phone number. He didn't say, so that's performative. If you aren't criticizing the man who brought him in, I don't want to hear a damn thing from you.
That's the thing. He doesn't want to get kicked out of the clubhouse. He's got access right now. He's, I hate to use the word token, but I'm going to use it anyway, because that's basically what it is. I could probably make a fortune if I wanted to, just throw my my morals and values in the trash and never look myself in the mirror again, and switch over to the dark side. Yeah, I could probably make a fortune being like, that Candace Owens, if you will, but I can't do it. I need to be able to live with myself. And I remember watching the brother from the Daily Show. He was I can't remember his name, but he was talking about how when he was growing up and he was little in South Africa, his mother was
Trevor Noah.
Black. Thank you. Trevor Noah, and his father was white, and they literally couldn't walk down the street together. Like they had to be across the street from each other. And I thought, it's bizarre. I was like a teenager when that was going on. Like this was like the modern world. So Elon was living in that modern world. Probably most of those farmers that got brought over here were in that modern world. And how the hell can you live with yourself being the token on that side and not say a damn thing?
Like nothing. Like no word whatsoever. I mean, I'm sitting here, Morgan, Vernon Jones in Georgia. I'm on his Twitter feed. I don't see nothing, Morgan. I mean, I don't see not now tweet about these white South Afrikaners, Trump lying about genocide, farmers being killed. I see everything. Newark, he got Bill Maher stuff. He got all, I don't see nothing. I guess they don't get the news where they're from.
Well, I completely agreed with what she was saying about the fact that, this influencer class, if you have, especially as a Black influencer, decided to sign up for the MAGA side of things, I do think you're playing a whole different game. You know what the terms of that game are, and you probably are going to be a lot less likely to go hard against the president, even if it's something you don't agree with. But I'm going to come back to the point, and actually in the first, and I will admit, I do not follow that part of influencer land very closely, so I don't remember her name, but the woman out of Chicago, where she was saying,
oh yeah, Danielle Carter, who she went off. Yes. She did some of the videos. She went off on me because she was mad that I hadn't had them on the show. Girl, bye. Girl, bye.
You don't want to have that debate, Roland? I would maybe watch that. But anyway,
the levels of ignorance is just beyond me. But go ahead.
It's too much. Okay. The point she made about the illegals and, that he's addressing the quote unquote illegals that have been here. I mean, that's getting a little bit at what I was getting at before is among the Black folks I know that supported Donald Trump in this past election, there is this sentiment that, we have not been well served by anything coming out of the federal government in some time as a Black community. And
I've heard it.
Right? Okay. And some of that is baked in. This view that this segment that doesn't like anything that
right, but if they are going to be against immigration, be against the white folks who Trump's flying in, but they can't do that, Morgan, because that messes up their grift.
I agree. I completely agree with the influencer set. Yes, it's a grift that would complicate the grift totally. But with the voter, I'm going to come back to what Joe was saying earlier is I agree. I mean, I think this is baked in. I think the only thing that's moving a lot of the real people level of society that voted that way is economics. And until it starts to hit people directly and they're really feeling the impacts of some of this bad policy making to pocketbooks, I don't know if there's anything else that will shift. Because I think a lot of these other issues, as abhorrent as they could be, are baked in for this set of the population, and nothing's going to shift there. And so, it's unfortunate in some ways that, more harm would have to come on all fronts, that we're seeing these things greenlit, like people that are not in any need of real support, unlike Black farmers in America, as John was saying, that, desperately need support. The Afrikaners that are coming from South Africa that are going to be, getting these resources and the racism that's built into all of it, all bad. But I unfortunately just don't think any of it's going to really move the needle as much as people starting to feel economic pain.
But I believe it's important to still call them out, Mustafa. How about these little young Negroes called the Cartier family? Same thing. I'm sitting here. I'm on their page. Matter of fact, they did. This was the only comment they made. Liberal CNN commentators suggest taking away land from white South African refugees who could go back to Germany. Interesting that this is how they feel about white refugees and not third world illegal immigrants. That's the most they had to say. Are they disagreeing with it? Nope. Are they calling it out? Nope. No, they stand right with it. And again, I'm looking for something. No, they real quiet. Where y'all at? I don't see nothing. See, guess they not consistent. Now, let me go on over here to truly some idiots. I blocked these fools. Let me unblock these fools, the Hodge twins. And so let's see here. Ooh, I'm looking, okay. Okay. Anything about South Africa? Anything about South Africa? Let's see here. So the Episcopal Church said they're gonna end the refugee thing. We just talked about it. Oh, the Hodge twins, the two Black dudes, they called the Episcopal Church racist. So they down with the white Afrikaners. Oh, look right here. Deport every damn Somalian and every other immigrant that lives off the government and hates America. We'll take the hardworking South Africans that will love our country. Oh yeah, so the Hodge twins, them Negroes love these two minstrel show participants. They just loved the white Afrikaners. Now you do have some conservatives of conscience who are consistent, and I'll give her credit when she does. You take Sonny Johnson. So Sonny Johnson, she retweeted this post. The amount of excuses that some of you make for supporting the South African refugees, but not the Haitian refugees, clearly reveals your motives. It was an apples to apples comparison, and you immediately pivoted to border jumpers. That's not who we're talking about, and you know it. Okay, so I got that, and I'm looking to see. If she posted anything else. She retweeted this here. There's no white genocide in South Africa. No need for misleading hyperbole, but there is discrimination against minorities. It is infused into our laws and public policy under the fig leaf of redress by ANC and race-obsessed lefties. Pretending otherwise is to gaslight us. So she retweeted that. I still disagree with some of that. Let's see here. Anything else? So I go ahead and leave it at that. So you do have some who have some decent morals, values, integrity, and call those things out. But the reality is this here. What we're looking here, Mustafa, are individuals. A lot of these people, it's the grift. They know they can't say anything because they white daddy, Trump, is going to mess with their money.
Well, I think James Baldwin said it best when he said, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. I mean, it is our sense of action that say who we truly are, what our values are. And do we love Black people? And do we love other folks also who are in vulnerable situations? You know, I don't know those brothers and sisters because I'm busy on the ground doing the work. But it is important to make sure that individuals who might come across what they say understand who they are and what they represent. Because we live in this digital world where lots of folks don't read anymore. They get a quick clip and then they just go with that. So you got to put a spotlight. Wherever injustice might be, you put a spotlight on.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.